You're now listening to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Straightforward, no nonsense business advice. Completely unfiltered. Grow your business. Grow your life. Now, here's your host, Brian Fullerton.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. It's your host, Brian Fullerton here, hanging with you guys, and good morning. Well, guys, today we're going to be talking about probably a little bit more sensitive topic, talking about making money, building wealth, creating cash flow, and some different opportunities and ways to do it. I wanted to kind of press in a little bit about some different topics here that I have written down, and maybe we'll challenge your beliefs a little bit. Maybe we'll challenge our beliefs a little bit, and we'll have this little journey together as we talk about making money. I'm actually joined here by the beautiful wifey for lifey. How you doing, babe?
Hey.
Hey. Blink if you're in trouble. This is like the third intro that we've done. Mm-hmm. And you're very distracting.
I just exist, and you think
no,
it's hilarious or something. I don't know. Every time we get on here, we just laugh. So I'm trying to be serious.
Well, it's not like you just exist. What I mean is like you just start smiling weirdly.
I'm a happy person. I smile. I don't know what to tell you.
You have like the nervous laugh, and then I'm like, what? And then I'm thinking like, do I have like lettuce in my teeth or something? And then
I'm just happy to be here, dude. I like hanging with you.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's really nice to be on a podcast with you. Actually, Grams took the little one
to the park down the street.
To the park, and it's just you and I here by ourselves. And we said, hey, you know what? There's 100 things that we could do together with a quiet house and nobody around.
Podcast number one.
But we're gonna podcast because that's what we do here, because we're all about success, just having fun. So we got some things that I wanted to talk about. This is a podcast that. Look, I'll just put a little precursor on here. This isn't to offend anyone. This isn't to challenge anyone. This isn't to get in anybody's face. This isn't to get anybody's grill. This isn't to say this is right, this is wrong. It's really nothing about that. I just want to have a discussion talking about making money. Now, here's the deal. You can't talk about certain topics in this country without offending everybody instantly right off the rip. I might offend anybody, anytime, any place saying anything. And that's the ridiculousness of our world today. Like nobody can just share opinions and just listen to an opinion, go, hey, look, that sounds great. Or, hey, not for me. It's like the minute you start expressing a thought, somebody's already immediately, it's just how our society is so charged up that you immediately go,
what? Defensive.
You go on
doesn't agree with your.
Yeah. You get disagreeable. You go on the defensive. You get offended. And you know what's so funny, Liz? Like for years, for decades, I worked jobs and my boss would tell me things I didn't like and I was offended. You know what I did? Still did my job. I mean, like, and now today, everybody's like, I don't need to do that. I can do this. I can do, I'm going to go on Facebook and Instagram and yell and preach, and everybody's got a soapbox. And it's like, there's no discourse, right? There's no discourse in politics. There's no discourse at the family table, the dining room table, which is where you learn about money. Arguably, you don't learn it at, your master's of education or your MBA or whatever it is at college necessarily. You learn about making money in self-help books, and you learn about making money from your parents. Typically, that's where it all starts, and that's where the foundation starts. And that's conversation that you and I have every single day, every other day, literally, multiple times a day, talking about important topics. We talk about religion. We talk about spirituality. We talk about making money. We talk about finances. We talk about humanity. We talk about how to help people, how to be givers, like and many, many more things, many different topics that are, what would you call them, taboo these days? Mm-hmm. What did they say? Don't talk about money, politics, and religion. Mm-hmm. Those are like my go-to three. It's like, that's what I want to start with. Because people are like, hey man, like, did you see that accident on the highway? No, I don't care, because we're trying to stay focused to grow something. And I can't be learning about creating money and taking care of my family if I'm so concerned about the latest TV show and series and the accident that happened on the road and the gas prices are up 10 cents. Okay, like you only have so much limited time in a day to think. So that being said, we're already getting on the soapbox, but I want to talk about making money and how specifically we got out of debt, how we're making money, how we're accelerating the growth of our income, because we both came from nothing. Okay, a lot of you guys have heard this story before. Liz, what was your background? How did you grow up?
I grew up in Dearborn, Michigan. I have a 313 area code that you like to make fun of, which is, if you aren't from the area,
my Proverbs 313 wife.
Detroit area code. And I'm not even middle class America. I'm probably lower middle class.
Yeah.
If that. And we didn't talk about finances unless something was going wrong. Like, hey, we need to move because this house is too expensive, or hey, guess the power's out again because we didn't pay the bill. Like, I just, like I was that kid in the grocery store where we'd have to put grocery back at the checkout line. It was terrible. Like, that's how I grew up around finances. We didn't talk about how to invest or like even what a savings account was.
Sure.
So yeah, I didn't grow up with a whole lot.
No money or anything like that, right?
No. And no real education about it either.
Okay, so for better or for worse, right? This is how you grew up. Same thing as me. We grew up. It was literally life was putting out fire to fire to fire. My mom was a single mom, making $30,000 a year. She worked at a company called Service Merchandise. For any of you guys way back in the day that remember them, they sold flat screen TVs to jewelry to outdoor patios to electronics to coffee makers to literally anything. It was a wild store, and it was a really really cool operation. A lot of great people back in the day that really helped my mom, and she was making some okay money, $30-some grand a year. Single mom, 3 kids. We would eat and devour everything in sight. We were just 3 grown dudes, and just rampages at home. Trying to self-manage our life. Talking about making money, we when I was 10, 12, like the reason I started cutting grass was like we didn't have any money. So I was like, hey, I want to go out and make 10, 12 bucks. And it wasn't like, hey, I'm going to go cut grass to make money, or I'm going to go make money, so I'm going to do it to cut grass to get that 10 bucks. I don't know what thought came first. It was just I wanted some pocket change, right? Like we were broke. All my kids had Abercrombie and Fitch and American Eagle. This is the early 1996, 97, 2000s, all that kind of stuff. I'm going through middle school, high school. All of my friends, they have, and we're all broke, right? Because we're all living in the trailer park, my peer group. But then I'd hang out with friends after school, right? Like an extracurricular thing or a sleepover or a party. And they'd have these cooler jeans and cooler shoes. And I'm like, dude, I'm just tired about being broke. So long story short, I went to cut grass. I was making some money, and I felt good. And I bought some nicer shoes, and I bought maybe some Skechers or something back in the day. I don't know what was cool. Then I didn't even go to the mall until I was literally 19, 20 years old, working at Little Caesars, making 30, 40 grand a year. But we had no money, and all my money, like when I made it, here's another thing I want to talk about. When I made it, nobody told me what to do with it. Right? I mean, when did you start with your first job? How old were you?
I was 16, and so I could legally work for something else. I was a hostess.
Okay, where at? Where'd you do?
On the border. They had a hiring sign out when we went there, like drove past it. And I was like, you should go get a job. And I was like, I guess I'm going to go get a job. Never really occurred to me, but.
Yeah. What were you making? What was your starting wage back then? Did you get like $2 an hour waitress money, or did you get like the $9? No, I was a hostess,
but it was probably like $6.50, whatever minimum wage was at the time.
Right. And so when you got your first paychecks, what did you do?
I was like addicted. Like I would pick up shifts as much as I could. My mom, at first my mom would drop me off, as much as she could. She worked usually 2 jobs, and so in between her shift, she would drop me off, and a friend would drive me home. Mm-hmm. And I would pick up as many as I could because all of a sudden, like you said, I had money to like go to the mall and buy like new clothes that I weren't from Salvation Army. I was so psyched. I didn't care if it was Abercrombie or like I didn't care. Yeah. It was the fact that it was new was awesome to me. And then, but I just spent it. Like I didn't save. I didn't, like I had friends that were like saving for their first car or like college or, anything. I was like kid in a candy store for the first time. I could go out and buy something.
Right.
I did. I bought everything.
You bought little little purses back in the day, like the $100 like Michael Kors, the Coach purses, which were like the thing back in the day. Today it's Louis Vuitton and all these other messes. But there's different levels on your financial pay grade. And after
I would like go get my nails done. I'm like, you're 16. What are you doing with like acrylic French tips? You look like a little hooker.
Wow. Well, there you go.
I did. So nobody ever sees photos of me as a teenager.
Well, and at that age, same thing. I was so after I was cutting grass in Little Caesars, I was like, dude, I needed more money. So what was my goal to create more money? Well, it was to trade more time for money. And I figured, hey, I'm working 30, 40 hours a week at Little Caesars. I was graduating. I was 18 years old. And I said, hey, if I'm working 40 hours a week and I'm making $500 a week, then, or whatever it was, I'm like, then I could go trade more of my time, more of my, life and free time. And I went and worked at Circuit City, and I was making, I don't know, $9-10 an hour. And I was, making another $200, $300 a week working at Circuit City. So if I took my $400 or $500 weekly paycheck plus my $300 weekly part-time paycheck, I was like killing it. Man, I had, I was balling for sure. I was the number one stunner. What? Well, so guys, listen to this. Maybe you guys can relate. Like nobody taught me what to do with my money. Nobody taught me to save it. Nobody taught me to invest it. Graduation party happens. Even for my broke, pay grade life and self back in the day, which I'm not putting anything down or my mom down or anything like that. It's just the facts.
Yeah.
It's just how we grew up. Even at my graduation party, I had made, $1,500 from graduation, money and all that mess. Did you same thing with you? No. So you didn't get any money for your graduation? No. Well, so here's the deal. What did I do with my $1,500? Did I save it?
Like a stereo system in your car.
I did. I went to Circuit City, 100%. I got employee discount, and every paycheck was going into everything was going into my car. Why? Because Fast and the Furious came out, from Paul Walker to Vin Diesel, right? And I'm 18. I'm starting to make some money, and those movies, the first and second one, had just came out. And so, what do? We buy stereos. We buy JBL and MTX.
Don't forget like your neons underneath.
I had neons. I had Pioneer in-dash radios, and then I had Alpine, and then I had Infinity, and all these different brands and all these different things. And I had probably sunk $3, $4, $5 because I had 40% off, right? So retail $5, $6 might cost $2, $3, $4, and
coolest car. And then
I was the most white trash coolest kid ever with all the subwoofers and all that stuff.
Is that like during your white t-shirt phase? Your mom told me you wore nothing but like white t-shirts.
I wore nothing but basketball shorts, little white Birdman, shoes, and just Dazzle shorts, or the basketball shorts that kids wear.
Like white tee?
No, not that bad. I was just wearing my schmediums, and because I was like 150 pounds back in the day. I was a little dude, and still a little dude. But it's funny, like all my money that came in, though, what did I do? I spent it. I never invested it. I never grew it. I never knew what to do. Like you watch, and I'm going to name drop some different people here as we go, but you watch like different people on Instagram that have kids that are wealthy, and they're doing exercises on their jets and saying, hey, if this $1,000 comes in, what do? We got to get it, keep it, save it, multiply it. Okay, cool. And then what else do? We keep the tenants happy. Awesome. Like they're learning these little life lessons at 6, 8, 10, 12 years old. And it's no indictment on my parents, your parents, or maybe if you guys grew up this way, your parents are legal guardian. The thing is, though, there was never conversations about money because it was taboo, because we didn't have it, because we were broke. And it's still like this question that I constantly have today. Like, if we don't have it or what we want, we need to talk about it. It's the elephant in the room. Like, if you don't have your bills taken care of, you have to focus on it. I call it a wealth mentality or success mentality and Think and Grow Rich. You have to start paying attention to it. You have to get honest. I don't have what I have. I need more. I want more. How do I go about doing that? Like, and money isn't this elusive, some people have it, some people don't. It's not luck. It's not chance. I thought that for a long time. I'm like, some people are just born into it. Some people are just wealthy. Some people, their parents just leave them money. And albeit some of that is true, you can still change your stars in this country today. And that was the one thing at 18, 19 years old, that when I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I was finally presented the other side. And it wasn't that you can't make some money with a job. It's just typically you're not going to build wealth with a job. You have to be at a minimum self-employed, most likely a business owner, and long-term an investor, right? And I was just never presented the other side. And so for me, people are like, what's your favorite book? And I'm not a fanboy on it. It was just Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and then more specifically, The Cash Flow Quadrant. It's probably the second book that changed my life the most after the Bible, right? I mean, nobody taught me the foundations of how to make money, is to build assets that then pay for liability with the cash flow. So that being said, anything you want to add here really quick? Because this is, did you kind of grow up the same way, middle class? Nobody, did you have conversations or any rich uncles
So it's interesting. I had my grandmother who was decently well off. I mean, looking back, I probably looked inflated compared to where we were at the time in my brain back then. She was probably more like upper middle class, not like rich, but to me, woof, she like had it made. She had worked, had a good retirement, and as I got older, especially after my first job, I was lucky that she taught me about like the envelope system. And we sat down together one time. I remember like vividly, I wanted to move out, and she helped me figure out exact expenses and like how much I would have to work to
budget.
Yep. And it was shocking. I was like, there's no way I'm ever going to be able to live on my own working as a hostess.
Right.
But that was kind of it. Like I never really had anybody talk to me about like my future, or when they asked me what I wanted to do, it was never how I wanted to live. It was like,
what do you want to do?
What do you want? How do you want to spend your time? Not like, how do you want to live your life, if that makes sense? Like, at what level do you want to live at, and then work backwards. So I was kind of, I saw both ends. It was hard growing up because I wanted to like live at my grandmother's because it just seemed like she had it all figured out. But at the same time, again, we never really like sat down and talked about like how to invest or how she got to where she was at. Like we just didn't.
Let me ask you this. And this will here. Let's challenge some beliefs here, and let's press in a little bit. Hey, did you ever learn from any spiritual leader, any spiritual person? Pick your person, right? A pastor, a priest, your godfather, or god uncle, whatever. Okay. Did you ever learn from anybody spiritual aspects of money, like tithing, saving, giving, offering, like when, who, how, which way, where, and why?
I didn't learn about tithing until we started going to church together.
Sure.
And anything I had heard from like a religious standpoint about money was that it was bad.
Sure.
It was bad to want more. It was bad to like
covet,
make more. Like it was like the poor shall inherit the earth.
Right.
And so that was kind of not necessarily my opinion on it, but I don't know. Like it was just.
So it was blank.
Yeah.
So and again, like if you don't, they call it like the 4 windows, like you know what you know, you don't know what you know. Yeah, you don't know, you know that you don't know, and then other people know things about you that you don't know, or whatever the 4 windows are. So at that point, you're like,
never heard that.
You never heard the 4 windows?
Never heard that in my life. No.
There's things about you, Liz, that other people know that you don't know.
Like what?
Well, I don't know. I mean, nobody knows. I don't know. There's a one-way street here on the podcast, but if you guys want to tell Liz about things she doesn't know about her and knock that off and fix it, I don't know. I mean, we all got stuff like that in life. This is how it works. And that's why you always got to be open to having people like pour into your life and speak into your life. But same thing. I was 19, 20. I got saved, I think, at 20, 21 years old, and I had a spiritual friend and mentor, Jim Martino, that does the AV at our live event. He's not like just the AV guy. Like, that's like my dude, okay? He's my link. And he would start teaching me stuff, and he's the one that put Rich Dad Poor Dad in my hand, and a couple other things. Met him at church, and it was just one of those things where I started learning. I started finding, I started getting rooted, and I'll tell you guys what, like, we together have read and listened to probably as much or more self-help.
Just because we needed a lot.
We needed it a lot. We were so.
I remember when we first combined our finances when we were engaged. It just started to get easier as we're paying for things for the wedding.
Sure.
And you're like, okay, well, we're gonna set up a tithe, together, and it's 10%. And I was like, oh, what?
Of the gross or the net?
I mean, 10% of 0 is still 0, but that still sounds like a lot.
We combined our finances, and then we were like, wait a minute, like,
why is this negative?
We're like, this isn't like at the end of the month.
We both thought combining it would be like, oh, there's going to be more money in the
Well, it's like we combined money, and then I said, okay, cool. Like, but this isn't bad. But once we combine income, it'll get better. And you're like, I already combined our income. And I'm like, oh no. And so that was, I don't know, 2013, 12, 13, 14. I don't even know the timeline anymore. It's just, we've been married for almost 8 here in October and together for 10. And so here's what I wanted to talk about was how to make money. I mean, how to build wealth. How to, and again, I don't want to come from this like we've got it all figured out, because we don't. Duh. Like, now here's the thing. I feel right now we're on the track that in 10 years from now, 20 years from now, I can look back and say, yeah, I told you so, because we laid the foundation. And that's what I want to talk about today, is the foundation. But that being said, there's 100 different ways, and I said this on a podcast recently, to skin a cat. I don't know why you'd ever skin a cat. I don't know where the term came from.
I was really disliked that saying.
Yeah, it sounds like some like Book of Eli type, saying, like a dystopian thing. But there's a lot of ways to get to the finish line, and what I want to talk about is, the debt-free versus borrowing money, the investing versus saving, the 401k Roth IRA folks versus the reinvesting in your company. Like there's all these different conversations out there that you just like, people just beat around the freaking bush. And it's like, nobody really just shoots it to you straight about the upside of doing this and the downside of doing that, and building your spiritual road or your financial roadmap together. Like, and you and I, we have conversations all day long. What are we doing? What are we trying to do? What are we doing with this next dollar that comes in? What are we doing with this next dollar that's going out? And Jeff Joyner said it really good at Together in the Trades, by the way. Like, him and his wife have very little disagreements because they have the same mission. Mm-hmm. And it's not like when something happens or they both need to make a decision, they always have to ask the other one. Because if it falls in line with the family mission purpose and mission statement, purpose statement, then the decision's already been decided.
Right. It's not like, he says like the ultimate yes or no, or she says the ultimate yes or no. It does it line up with our purpose? Cool. Like, and the purpose is the decision maker. Yeah,
for sure. And so here's what and that's the same thing with us with making money. So I just got some bullet points here that I want to go through, and we'll just we'll try to keep it light. I don't want to come from this top down perspective, not by any means. I will tell you this: our finances are a lot better these last 5, 6, 7 years. We've put more in the bank. We've borrowed money. We've paid off money. We've had money in the bank. We've had no money in the bank. We've had decent amount of money in the bank. We've help me out. Anything that you want to add here? We've financed things. We've not financed things. We've paid cash. We've paid things off.
We've done a little bit of everything along the way. It's to what made sense at that point.
Yeah, and so there's no like you have to do it this way or die. I don't want to present anything like that. I just want to give you the different tools in the tool belt and to say here's how these can help you, because here's the reality of our story. I'd like to go back to the budget part that you talked about. When we were engaged, we get a
lot of questions. I think it's been a while since we've even talked about like I don't know if you call it like an origin story. It sounds like a villain.
Right.
but that was one of the biggest questions that we got coming out of Together in the Trades was like nobody knew our story. So maybe we should talk more about that.
Right. So when we got engaged, I realized, okay, I liked you a lot. We were going to get engaged. We were going to get married. And so shortly after we got engaged,
I distinctly remember telling you that we were going to get married. I love you. And you didn't have to say it back or think that we would, but it was true. And you were like, okay, weirdo. So I think I told you first.
You definitely did, because you were like stage 5 clinger and I couldn't get rid of this thing. I was like shaking like a Jack Russell Terrier off my leg. I'm like, get out of here. And you're like, hey, we're going to get married. I'm like, okay.
You weirdo.
If ladies want financial advice or relationship advice out there,
don't do that.
Probably don't tell the guy.
But a week later, you were like, yeah, you're right.
Well, I mean, I was like, look, I'd be an idiot not to marry you because you're the most beautiful things I've ever set my eyes on. And you're super smart and also super naive and super dumb. So I was like, I better get this one.
Young and dumb.
Young and dumb. I was like, I better get this one before she wises up. All right. So when we were engaged, we decided to start combining finances because why? We were paying for a wedding, and then we were we had 2 different vehicles. We were taking my car on a date, your car on a date. You would pay for dinner. I would pay for dinner.
It just seemed silly after a while. And we'd always talked about when we had gotten married, we were going to combine finances anyway, because I don't know. I know there's couples out there who are married and don't combine finances, but I still just can't wrap my head around, around that. And I don't think we need to get into that.
I'm not going to even go down that one. You guys do you. Like some people like, well, he makes 70 grand and I make 70 grand or 50 grand. So we're going to take 20% of each to cover the basic bills. And he's got his money. I got my money. Like, I don't think that's very Christian-like. I don't think it's very biblical. I don't think it's very solid core relationship to have like your finances and his finances. Look, do whatever you want to do. I'm not going to go down that whole route. We didn't want to do that. Okay, we combined everything. We said, look, we're in it together.
There wasn't a whole lot to combine. Looking back, so it wasn't.
Took
really
12 minutes.
And I'm sure if you have like a lot of assets or something, then it's probably a little bit more complicated.
Potentially, but we were paying for deposits.
Yeah.
Wedding stuff, obviously. Anybody who's...
It was a lot. We paid for our own wedding, so there was a lot of money going every which way. And
yep. And so we were, we got married in 14. And then we living in the 700 square foot apartment. The apartment complex is Hillside Apartments. You can Google it, pull it up, Google images, look at this place. It's not the Taj Mahal, okay?
No, our carpet was 12 years old.
12 years old. Well, it was 7 years old when we moved, or whatever, 6, 7 years old when we moved in.
They're supposed to, like, we were 1 year away from them having to replace the carpet, and then we lived there for, 6 years.
7 years. Yeah. 7 years. So
it was gross.
1 year after we moved in was like the 5-year life cycle for them to refresh the unit every 5 years. I guess this is how they do it. Well, then we stayed there for 7 years, so we're already on 5 and 6 year old stuff. We got like our
annual can of Kills from the front office to paint over the mold in the bathroom,
which is like the most illegal something.
I don't feel like that is like kosher.
Like literally, dude, it was like a joke with Mary up there. Like you get the can of white spray paint Kills,
renew your lease, free can of Kills,
and it was like a free can to like touch up the bathroom because the mold would just grow. And I would, every time I take a shower for
sneeze and cough,
the last 2 years I would sneeze.
You probably have like lingering health effects from that,
dude. There's no doubt about it. So we had the 700 square foot apartment. When the washer would run, the furnace would run.
The train tracks.
The train tracks are literally 100 feet out our back window. We're talking 2, 3, 4 lane train tracks. It was like a switchyard thing. And the trains were so loud.
It would shake. Like I remember laying in bed and waking up at 3 a.m. because the bed started shaking because a train was going by.
There's once a month. There's the coal train that goes through, and it's literally a mile long. I love trains, and somebody told me like, yeah, it's like the coal train. It's once a month. It cuts through the state. All the coal. It's like 7 locomotives. I don't know how many cars, a couple hundred cars. Boom, 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 boom. By the way, that would go.
What is happening?
If that thing went through at 2 p.m, at 2 at night, the whole complex shook. Then the furnace would be on. Then the washing machine. Then the dishwasher.
You couldn't hold a conversation.
There
were many times we were in the middle of an argument and all of this would start up and we just have to stop.
There's no doubt about it, and we're not making it sound worse than it is.
No, it was really.
It was worse. It was way worse than we're describing right now. Like we had the mystery stains. Like you would.
Oh gosh, I would go to battle on this carpet because the carpet. I don't know, for whatever reason I was really fixated on because it was so dirty and so gross.
There was 3 spots,
and I won't ever have carpet. I think anywhere.
No, like, the whole new house has hardwood floor
because it's just so gross. I can't sanitize it, and this mystery stain. I would spend all this time scrubbing the carpet because we didn't have a carpet cleaner machine. We were poor. No. And so I'd scrub at this carpet till my hands are raw, dry it, and the stain would be gone. And literally the next day it was back. I'm like, it had to have been mold or something like going.
It was something out of a horror movie. I don't know why
it would come back. It was just nasty. It was so bad.
We're talking a black ring.
It was embarrassing.
A black ring.
As soon as you walked in the door, you could see it. So it wasn't like directly in front of the door because I'd be like, oh, that's just like snow and ice. No, it's like somebody got murdered in our hallway because it wasn't like it was a few feet into. So it didn't make sense to like cover with a throw rug or something. It was in this awkward spot.
The door wall. I remember on the apartment, like the glass had the paint had broke kind of a deal. So it was all frosted. Yep.
All the condensation in between the panes.
Yep. So we never had like the sunlight cracking through.
Popcorn ceiling that when the train would go by, it would like snow on us.
We had the blinds that were like the metal blinds, but they were like metal. Well, no, they're like the plastic
because Frank would break them.
Our cat would jump in it, so like we'd have like 3 different slats on both sides broken, and it was as white trash as you could get.
It was bad.
It was.
We tried so hard to make it pretty.
The neighbors were wild. Hellcat Chargers zipping through there, just smoking the tires, squawking the tires.
So remember when we came home once and there was somebody's stuff all over the parking lot?
We literally
like clothing and somebody had like kicked their girlfriend out or something. I don't know.
As white trash, like this is the kind of place it was, and it's not. It's your starter apartment, and
it was right next to the police station. I thought it was safe. I looked at the town and I'm like, okay, police station, cool. Safe to be.
And we saw arguments, fights. The day or the week we moved out, there was a brand new 2018, 2019 blue Ford Edge ST.
It was a sport. Yeah, it was like the expensive
it's the cool
version.
one.
They put it was on cinder blocks.
It was legit on blocks.
And this isn't like the ghetto. Like Wixom isn't like the ghetto. It's just this complex was terrible.
This complex was a little rough.
Yeah.
And so I called the apartment manager and we had her phone number. She was really cool with us. Probably with a lot of people too, but she was cool with us. And so I texted her. I said, hey, Mayor. I said, what happened with the blue edge? And she goes, I can't say because there's an investigation, which is code for somebody, dude, like, and those black, gloss type, 22s. And it had that beautiful, like, sky blue paint and tinted out black windows.
Poor thing.
This thing is on, like, straight up cinder blocks. And it was for about a week or two after that.
It was like that for a while.
Because we had drove back, like, a week or two to keep getting all of our stuff exited out of the old apartment to the new apartment. And so, anyway, we lived there for not 1 year. Not 2 years.
Forever.
Not 3 years.
And we kept telling ourselves 1 more year. One more year.
Not 4 years. Not 5 years. Not 6 years. 7 years together as a couple. 7 years. And so people are like, well, what credibility do you have? Like what and Jeff Joyner said the same thing about marriage. Like, hey, what's your credibility about, talking at a marriage conference? He goes, I've been married for 30 plus years and I'm extremely happy with my marriage. I'm happily married for 30 years. There's my credibility. It's like people are like,
I was like, oh, I want to be married for like 40 years, but like, do you want to be like happy married?
Right.
Because there's a difference. You can be married for 40 years, but I don't know.
Same thing. People are like, oh, the pastor has to like put out the altar call. No, you can as a Christian. You know why? Here's your credibility. You're a saved Christian. You can save people now. Jesus saves, but you can give the call. Okay, that's how it works. Well, that's where we're at here. We came from very, very little money. We had no prospects. We were learning, dude. We were studying. And then I know the other conversation is like, well, then YouTube came into place. YouTube helped me to grow my lawn care company. We didn't make any money from the YouTube. We had started YouTube back in the apartment, created a channel. There's a whole story there. Listen to the first podcast on the whole show. And the long story short is we bought a camera. You were going to do some stuff with YouTube. I ended up doing some stuff with YouTube. And it wasn't this like overnight success, instantly viral, 10 million followers, making $10 million a year. Nothing like that. The first month we made no money. The second month we made no money. The third 6 months we made no money. I think the fourth, fifth month we might have made $12. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
2 years into this thing, we were making like $80 a month. So people like, we bought the 2017 F250 and I had people for, a season and on YouTube, like the hater people saying, oh, your YouTube bought your truck. And I'm like, dude, I wish. Because who wouldn't? I mean, what would it matter anyway if you had a side hustle making T-shirts and that combined with your regular 9 to 5 allowed you to buy your new cool thing? What difference would it make? But like you do YouTube and apparently you're like, you know,
owe people something.
Yeah, you owe people something or you're Satan or something like that. It's like, geez, oh Pete, my God. Like I've never seen so much criticism from an industry because somebody makes content on YouTube when the content is literally giving everything that they can away for free about how to make more money in the industry.
Crabs in a bucket.
It's crabs in a bucket.
Ready to charge up your business and take it to the next level? Well, plug in and join us for Lawntrepreneur Academy Live 2022. Don't miss this electrifying opportunity to hear from our top industry professionals. Get powered up in this high-energy atmosphere, learning trade industry knowledge and ways to level up your thinking. This high-energy teaching and networking event is full of motivational information, giveaways, and trade industry secrets. Take charge and register now for the industry's largest training event of the year, Lawntrepreneur Academy Live 2022.
All around, it's just a great experience.
I didn't realize how important that LAL is.
You get more than you spend at for a 4-year degree.
Man, I can't wait. This has been a great event, and I will definitely be back next year.
Take charge and register now.
Lawntrepreneur Academy Live is Saturday, November 12th in Novi, Michigan. Get your tickets now for the early bird price of $197. The price goes up at the end of September. The link to register is in the podcast description.
That being said, we made no money from YouTube the first couple of years. And quite frankly, what is making money? You make an extra $1,000 a month, $2,000 a month. Is that like really anything to write home about? You do a pruning job, you do a mulch job. I mean, the opportunity cost that I put into YouTube versus just going out and working at $50 to $80 an hour. The lines might just break even, just going back into putting it into the lawn care company. So that being said, we're 2016. And here's the financial picture. We didn't have a lot of money. You were still working. What was your job situation looking like back then?
In 2015?
14, 15, 16 is kind of a blur, but it was B-dubs.
So when we first met, I was waitressing at Buffalo Wild Wings. That's where like we started dating and stuff. And then shortly after we started dating, I think like maybe month 2 or 3. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Shortly thereafter,
I started reading books and, getting involved with Brian in business and stuff and wanted to grow better, do better. And so my overall demeanor changed at work and I actually had a table offer me a job, which was really cool at a mortgage company. I was his basically glorified assistant. I would help move the loans from he would originate the loans and I would move them through the whole process and be the contact with the client.
Loan officer work.
Yeah. And I really loved the job. It was great. It was very interesting to see people's financials.
Well, that was a huge thing because you'd come home every day with a story about, hey, did you see who I pulled credit? Like, you couldn't tell.
I couldn't give you
details.
Exact, but I'm like, yeah, this person's buying this, $300,000 house, but they have this insane amount of debt and we can't get them qualified, but they look so good on the outside. Like they pulled up in a Cadillac, all this stuff. You look good, smell good. And I look at your bank statements and I'm like, what are you doing? Or, hey, this person is buying, a nice enough house, but nothing crazy, but they have millions.
$100 million in the bank.
Yeah. And it was just really eye-opening for us. And we had a lot of great conversations and things, but I moved on from that job to working in audiology, which is totally random about face. There's a whole story there. And
because your family has a background in that.
Yeah.
Your dad.
My dad. And it's not a good job. There's a whole story there. Hated it. My boss was very verbally abusive in front of like patients. And it was just, I can't believe I worked there for so long, but it allowed us, like when I was waitressing, you'd work during the day, I'd be working nights. We never could come together and communicate. And like, it was good money. Like waitressing, you can actually make a lot of money, and I love people. So it was a great job for me.
Yep. Fast paced environment.
Yeah. We wanted something where
we could see each other
and work on the business at night and just, live a little. And so it enabled us, while I was working at the audiology company, as terrible as it was, it paid decently enough. And
you were working at the real estate company, and then because of all the 07, 08 stuff, it finally caught up.
Long story short,
it finally caught up.
Yeah, my boss, great man, shouldn't have been writing loans without. Well, I don't. Not that he shouldn't have been like. He was just used to how things were being done.
Yeah,
before the crash, and then
the whole industry changed. And
there was a lot of turbulence. Yeah,
the whole industry, the whole company. We're not going to give the mortgage company away. It's a huge company over in Plymouth, Michigan, but
really great family-owned company too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and we were super. We went.
He moved out of originating loans, and he's their sales trainer, which is a perfect job for him. He is awesome.
And that happens. The guy's been in the industry for 30 years. The governing bodies of the world changed the game. He's like, I'm just going to train the new guys sales techniques.
Yeah.
And he was making a couple $100,000 a year. He wasn't hurting. Okay.
No.
He had some cool cars, and he befriended us. Like, he was a nice guy.
We're still friends. Like, he cheers us on. Like, he wants us to do well, like, in life. Yeah. Like, he was really great for us.
Well, and we were grateful for that, because you went from, you took less money from B-dubs, but you were making consistent money at the mortgage company. Then the audiology company was like $2 more an hour, and we were like, oh my God,
ballin'.
We were going to be rich.
Our employees, even our trimmer guy, makes more than I used to working in audiology.
And at the time, my lawn care business was making, I don't know, I don't even really know. I'd have to look at the numbers, 40,000 maybe true profit. And it was such a botched job. Everything was pen and paper. I had little iPads. Because I graduated from my netbook days, there was no bookkeepers, no accountants, no. I mean, I did have an accountant. He was garbage. Okay. He focused on W-2s and, people that had simple, investments, with a 401k or something.
Yeah.
And, so like, but I had learned, and I was learning, we were studying. Like, I really want to put this like fervor into this conversation, though, that you and we were literally figuring things out. Every single day we were reading stuff, we were watching YouTube videos and having crazy conversations.
So when we first got together, we had bad debt.
Yeah.
And we decided that we don't have bad debt anymore. We wanted to be able to reinvest in the business. We eventually one day would have liked to have gotten out of that crappy apartment and buy a house. And so I remember we had this giant freaking whiteboard. We still have it, actually. I've talked about putting it back in the living room, as crazy as it is. And I remember coming home from work one day when I was still waitressing, I think, even.
Sure.
Because you did this without me.
Because I had probably watched a YouTube video and listened to some podcasts.
So we had like a one-bedroom apartment, and the rest of the apartment was an open floor plan, and it wasn't very big, 700 square feet. There's not a whole lot of space. So in the dead center of the apartment, you couldn't miss it. You could see it from every different angle in the entire room.
1 second. Here's how your apartment's small, and I've said this before, is when you can take, we had a vacuum.
I have this text message saved when I first discovered this.
For real. And you were gone one day, probably serving, and I was cleaning up the house, and I literally plugged in the vacuum in the hallway outlet and was able to get all the way from one corner from the living room and kitchen to horseshoeing it. Place. I horseshoed it all the way to the bedroom.
Having to unplug it and replug it
without having to unplug it.
And we were proud of this.
I was like,
Liz. Not proud of it, but like excited about it.
I was like, I did this whole place in 7 minutes.
I didn't have to unplug it once, and then we're like, wait, maybe that's not so good.
So listen, folks, like, because we're hoping to break ground in our home this fall, and I think like our bathrooms are the size of our old apartment. Okay, it's gonna be a larger house, and so like the dream will come full circle in 7, 8, maybe a decade kind of a full circle like time frame. Like, we can literally show you and tell you, like, we can do it. If we can do it, you can do it. So when somebody's like, what credibility do you have? I'm like, bro,
if you only knew where we started and where we are now.
And we came from further back than like words will ever express, because we've had knockout, drag out fights over buying cheap spaghetti. Go ahead, tell them that
I don't
story.
want to talk about the spaghetti story.
One of the first meals we had as a couple.
And one of our first really big arguments.
My mom gave us like a $50, like, you get a new apartment. And
it
we're
was
telling
like a
you
care
these
total package. It had toilet paper and ketchup.
This little
and like
starter thing.
all of the little things you don't really think of to have in because you're starting with nothing.
We had no money. We had nothing left.
And
we're telling you these stories for a reason, okay? So hang tight. We'll get to the points.
Yeah.
But
I think she gave us like a box of spaghetti. And then when we were grocery shopping,
$10 Meijer gift card or Kroger gift card.
We had to go and buy like the spaghetti sauce or something to go with it. And we literally had like, I don't know, $20 or $30 for like to last 2 weeks for groceries. And I can make it work. Like I'm that person that will cook a whole chicken in the beginning of the week and use it for various meals. Like that's just what I grew up on and what we do. So I was like, okay, I got this. $30. We're going to make this last. We're going to get like...
I don't want to stop you and fact check you, but there's no way we had $30. Bro, I guarantee you we had $10. Because I know, like it was a short... Because we didn't walk in and grab a shopping cart. We grabbed a little basket.
We grabbed a hand basket, yeah.
So there's no way. There's no way we had $30.
We ended up having this conversation in the spaghetti sauce aisle because I wanted to buy like the cheapest of the cheap spaghetti sauce that's in a can.
The ragu, 99 cents.
We didn't have a whole lot of money and I can jazz anything up. Like if I have spices, I can make it taste good. Except we didn't have spices because we were just starting out. So there was nothing in our spice cabinet when I got home.
We bought a spice cabinet one day, remember?
I do.
the silver ones?
And long story short, the spaghetti was nasty because I didn't have anything to work with. There was no garlic in my pantry. There was nothing I could do to make the sauce taste any better. I was used to coming home and like having stuff to work with.
It was glorified ketchup.
It was the nastiest spaghetti I've ever eaten in my entire life. But we had this argument over which spaghetti to get. He's like, no, buy, instead of the 90-cent can, buy like the $1.30. I'm like, well, I don't know who you think we are. We don't have that kind of money. No, we're buying the cheap stuff. It was so inedible.
It's so sad.
So we had this argument about it. We were sitting down to dinner.
We pre-argued.
We pre-argued about it.
We had the argument at Kroger.
Yeah. And then so I go home, make it, whatever. And we're still kind of like, beefing. And so we sit down to eat it. And the first bite, I'm like, oh God, this is terrible. But I'm eating it because
you're a killer.
First of all, I'm hungry. Second of all, I'm not going to be wrong.
Poverty will do that to you.
So, and you can just tell, like, it's so bad, but neither of us are saying anything.
It's like quiet in the apartment. So, like, I pick at it, you pick at it. I, like, look up at you, and I'm like, and I want to marry this girl, right? I'm like, yo, hey, this isn't really that good. And you're like, yeah, like I didn't want to say this.
Like we're like, yeah, this.
You're like, I didn't want to say this. And I don't even know what we did after.
We ended up laughing about it. I think we ate it because we didn't have anything else.
We might have went to Taco Bell down the road because that was like the new.
Okay, so back to the whiteboard.
So by the way, we're learning to work together, which our first couple years were tumultuous because you're a driver, I'm a driver, and learning to work together.
Ryan's first anniversary gift to me after being married was a journal full of something nice or something about the day every single day for our first year of marriage. And
I got that one from Darren Hardy.
You think that's so sweet. And it's in a Darren Hardy book, but he's like, no, Liz, I had to do this to remind myself why I liked you every day.
That's so sad and so tough, dude. Like folks, we're go to togetherthetrades.com. We've got to have the journal around here somewhere.
I do. It's in the treasure chest.
Okay, cool. And we'll bring it to Together in the Trades next year. And it wasn't like I married the wrong girl, nothing like that. It's just we did not know how to work together. We didn't, and so a lot of fights.
We were so used to being each in charge.
Well, and we had no money, so like we had two different ideas and two different visions of where every dollar should go and what we should be doing. And so like that's where I took this whiteboard. And I just literally...
Okay, this whiteboard was massive. How big? It's like 4 feet by like 3 feet whiteboard. It's massive.
It's bigger than that. It's probably 4 foot by 5 foot. I mean, it's
huge.
It's huge. I mean, it could even be bigger than that. Maybe 5 foot by 6 foot. This whiteboard is retardedly big.
It's huge.
You're like, that's...
And I came home one day and it's on the wall.
I screwed it to the wall.
Like I said, we had a really crappy apartment, but I take pride in where I live, and I was trying to make it nice and decorate it and, do all these cute Pinterest things. And I come home and there's this massive whiteboard in the center of the wall. I was so mad. I was like, okay, what am I supposed to decorate around this? Like,
well, you know why I felt like I had the right to screw that to the wall, right? Because
you used drywall anchors and everything.
Yeah, I did because it was a heavy board.
You had to. It's huge.
Well, you know what? What was right?
No moving.
What was to the next of it? What had we just recently bolted to the wall as well?
That came later.
Did it? Because I don't know if that's true.
It came later.
Okay. But, well, maybe that's where you got it out because, like, we're so petty like that.
I later, in one of my Pinterest tailspins, my poor Pinterest tailspins, was to literally
create a pallet
attach 4 pallets to a wall and called it a pallet wall. It
was
they
kinda
definitely
cute.
probably had chemicals, from like I
Bugs,
didn't get, like the
termites, spiders.
Whatever.
We took 4 pallets, folks. We robbed them from some commercial business down
alley.
there. We literally were those people. This is the pallet day craze. This was like 2015,
I put
16,
string
17.
lights on it.
We put string lights on it. We took it. I literally screwed all 4 of them together in our living room.
That's when I started making farm signs on Etsy.
So we were so stupid. We took this pallet wall, hoisted it up. I mean, literally like rolled it up.
The thing is, I put this all over Instagram too. Like I thought it was the coolest idea.
Dude, look back in the archives. It's probably there. We use slag screws or whatever they're called, like the bolts, like the huge bolts. I'm drilling through the apartment. Like, I don't know what's back there. I don't care.
We're so lucky we didn't get like electrocuted.
Dude, and then like the maintenance guy comes in one day and he's like,
what in the hell?
he's like, nice wall there. I was like, yeah, it's our pallet wall. He's like, right. He's like, that's not approved. We're talking 4 pallets, folks. I had to carry up 3 flights of stairs. We didn't have the first floor apartment. We didn't have the second floor. We were high rollers.
We were so excited to move to never have to walk upstairs because we live in like a condo style like situation right now where we live on top of our garage, so we have steps still into our
Yeah, and so our first floor of our new home is going to be the size of a castle because we never want to take a flight of steps. I've walked more stairs in 10 years than anybody listening to this show. I don't care how many lawns you walk. I walk, 8 miles a day cutting grass, mowing and trimming, and then I walk up literally 3 flights of stairs every day for a decade.
And then we got Teddy, and then you had to take
our dog
Teddy out multiple times a day. Yeah,
my knees are a miracle; they're still here.
But this whiteboard. So as mad as I was about you putting it up, it is. I can almost say that it's what single-handedly helped us get on the same page and get us out of debt and get us in a good financial position. Because we put all of our goals up there. We put all of our debts and all of the, loan terms of the debts. We focused on which ones to pay off. We had this whole method to it. And we both would look at it you couldn't miss it.
Yeah.
We would look at it every single day and there was no escaping it.
Right.
It was right in front of our faces.
So
we
here,
really should put it back up as much as I can.
But this is why we have our Sunday conversations, and frankly, every day. I say at least once a week have a board of directors conversation on Sunday. That's the minimum. That's for the people that just aren't obsessed with this stuff. At most other couples, you're probably talking about finances and business and life every single day at every single meal. I'm saying even if you're the business owner and she's the homemaker and has the kids and all this other stuff, that's fine. Once a week, you have to get each other on the same page. Having a once a week board of directors meeting on Sunday for 2 hours or 1 hour or
whatever
30,
it takes,
whatever
you have and whatever it takes.
That is the minimum to get you guys on the same page. Liz and I, we drive and we psychoanalyze something.
We don't even have really like a dedicated Sunday meeting anymore because
it's just
it's just typical conversation at least once a day for us.
Yeah,
and it might seem like it would drive you crazy, but if you're not tenacious about it,
right,
if you're not in the hunt for it, maybe it would drive you crazy. But
and it's not like, hey, did you see what so and so got or so and so did, or how does that work? It's hey, why do you think that is, or what the why, the way, the reason, how come they're doing this? Mm-hmm. What made that person think that way or do that thing? And that's what we enjoy. Is the people watching the psychoanalyzation of people making decisions, right? And because we're trying to learn, and then we ask people all the time. I talked to Troy Claude, Corey Ballard, Nick Carlson, people that have money, and I'm like, hey, why did you do what you do? How are you doing what you do? Like, what were you thinking at the time, right? And we're always pressing in, annoying people, but pressing in to figure out how they're thinking about money, and that's what we've been doing for the last decade. And here's the thing I want to talk about really quick. Is in 2016, that's where we had this huge fork in the road. I had my lawn care business, I had my O2 F-150, used whips and blowers, an Exmark Laser Z, maybe
old open trailer.
Yeah, S-Series. I had my 6.5x12 SureTrack utility trailer. What else did I have? Maybe, that was probably it. A bunch of hand tools, a little this, a little that. But everything was rusted, everything had hours on it, and everything was breaking down. I was like, you know what? I'm getting on YouTube. Everybody sees what I currently have. That's fine. That's cool. I want to grow. I want to learn. And so things are happening like simultaneously. Like all these parallel paths are happening all at once. We're growing as a couple. The lawn and landscape company is growing. The YouTube channel is starting to grow. I'm learning. You guys are learning. I'm meeting people like Mike Bedell. I'm meeting, we get linked up with different bookkeepers and different CPAs like over the next 12, 18, 24 months.
Great personal momentum.
Yeah, we were literally, folks, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but not by any means. I'm just telling you, like, if you are broke and if you're so sick and tired of how your finances are, you have to literally
like create a storm
and make so much headwind and not care what people are doing in life and take care of you first.
Be consistent, because while we were doing all of this, like, stuff really started changing in 2016 internally. Externally, everything stayed the same though for
years, many years. So 2016, I said, look, two things. And by the way, so we've been married for a couple of years. We're talking kids. We're talking about moving. We're talking about getting a house. You were pulling back credit reports of people and, seeing their finances. And you had wanted nice purses. You had wanted a nicer ring. You had wanted a home. You had wanted kids. And I'm like, okay, we're at this crossroads, right?
Yeah.
This bottleneck of life. There's only so much money coming in. Granted, being 40 grand or 60 grand or 80 grand, I can't really remember. But the bottom line is, like, there was only so much coming in. Mm-hmm. We wanted the next life, the next chapter, the next phase. And
we refused to do it where we were, though. Like, I wasn't going to have kids in the environment that could provide them.
I mean, I'd like to be bold and say we made that decision. I think it was kind of decided for us.
Right. Well, no, I've seen people have.
Well, we could have bought the $140,000 starter home. Mm-hmm. We could have bought the 80,000 mile Honda Pilot, to have the first little SUV. We could have bought the used everything and bought hand-me-downs and went to like Target, Myers, and had little kids' clothes, and that's fine. That's cool. Here's where the first point I'm going to make. There's nothing wrong with that. If you want that for you, that's awesome. Good for you. If you came from where we came from, in that life I just described about having those next nicer used things, that would have been like being millionaires for us from where we came from. That would have been making it. Then there's after that, there's another level. Then there's another level. Then there's another level. Then there's a level after that. And then there's like the billionaire lifestyle levels, okay? So you're never a finished product on this whole life. But what I want to show you guys is how to lay the foundation, because here's where we were. And interrupt anytime, because I'm just probably going to get on a rant.
Sure.
But it was 2016. And I said, you're like, I want all these things. And I'm like, I understand. I'm like, hey, my business.
That's cool.
I'm like, that's nice. I'm also like, I think I know what we need to do. And you're like, what's that? I'm like, we got to grow. And so here's the whole preface of this whole podcast is talking about growth, getting to the next level, growing, building, creating. We need to grow. And I said, Liz, we have no money. Okay. We had a couple bucks coming in and we might've made $4,000 a month, but 3,500 of it was going out, between life bills, expenses, this, that. There was no significant way that you and I were going to take the $500 to $800 to $1,000 a month we might have had as like a margin and reinvest into the lawn care business to get this thing growing to where I could start making a couple $100,000 a year with it. Mm-hmm. I mean, agreed?
Yep.
There was no way. And so there's philosophies out there and let's just call it spade a spade. There's the Dave Ramsey people. There's the Robert Kiyosaki people. There's the middle class thought process. There's the ultra rich thought process. There's thought processes of every level in between. But there's your Dave Ramsey people. Grow at the speed of cash. Pay off all your debts. Follow a 7-step process. And 35 years from now, you'll actually have $1 in the bank. And I'm sure I'm going to offend some people because, well, it only took me 6 years. Okay, I get it. I'll talk to you about that in a second. But we
needed velocity.
We needed some velocity. We needed some momentum. We didn't want to just go from this lifestyle to the next or this quality of life to the next. We wanted to go to 3 or 4 different rungs up. And I said, and it wasn't like we want Ferraris and Lamborghinis and Louis Vuitton purses. No, I do like that stuff. I do want that stuff. Mm-hmm. But that was never the goal. It was security, comfort, having enough money.
Those were like the byproducts of what we were chasing.
Yeah, I told Liz, I'm saying, if we can make a couple $100,000 a year, I think that would be a good solid starting point to like have some breathing room. Mm-hmm. And frankly, in this country today, I mean, if you're not making 80 to 150, I just don't know how you're paying your bills. With debt, inflation, maybe some private education, some organic food.
Sad, yeah.
Organic food and quality, vehicles. It's like if you're not making 80, I mean, maybe you guys are listening in. I've said this on a podcast before. I think $100,000 a year is the new $50,000 a year. I mean, like I just do not factually, there's just not enough money to move around. So anyway, 2016 or so, we get on YouTube, we're learning some things and I'm like, Liz, I'm going to go for it. Long story short, I'm like, I'm going to buy a truck. We're going to get some new mowers, a sand-on aerator. I can get all this stuff for arguably 0% and some pretty low interest rates. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make so much more money coming in. Now we had debt. right? We already had 10, 20, 30 grand in debt between cars, trucks, credit cards, just life.
Yeah.
But I said, if I take the $1,000 a month margin that we have every single month, and I start applying it at this 30 grand kitty that we owed, all of our debts combined, at best 30 months from now, we're paid off. And by the way, all my equipment, of course, is going to explode. It already was at the time. Now think about this out loud, folks. 30 months later, we're out of debt, and I still have a crummy business with the same cash flow. All my equipment's probably beyond dilapidated and gone and expensed. We have no extra income coming in, but we can say we're out of debt. Okay, so what? What did that do for, what would that have done for us? Alternatively, I told Liz, I said, hey, if I go 20, 50, 80, 100 grand in debt, I leverage that debt to get a bunch of new equipment. And then here's the big caveat. Here's my big disclaimer. Here's my PSA. And then we work our butts off like no human being has ever seen before on planet Earth. And we work not 10 hours a day, not 12 hours a day, not 14 hours a day. We work 20 hours a day. Every single waking thought and moment about how to grow, how to attack, how to increase, how to build. I think shortly thereafter, 2-3 years from now, these lines will cross where not only will we be able to pay off this 50, 80, 100 grand in debt that I borrowed, i.e. new truck, new mowers, new stand-on aerator, new trailer, hand tools, marketing, whatever, right? If we do that, grow this thing, slingshot from 50 to 70 to whatever grand a year in gross revenue I had coming in, slingshot it to $200-300 grand a year in gross revenue coming in, make $80,000 to $150,000 a year. I can then pay off that $80,000 of debt in 1 year. And then, by the way, shortly thereafter, we have a $150,000 a year income coming in from our lawn and landscaping business. That's what I want to present. And this is kind of like case study number one. I can grow at the speed of cash. And you know what? Like, you have to pick your
vehicle.
You have to pick your vehicle
and stick to it.
You have to stick with it. If you want to be a Dave Ramsey person and get out of debt and live within your means, which that's a good thing. We still do that, of course. But I mean, grow at the speed of cash and we're going to buy things as we can. It's you cannot grow and pay off debt at the same time. Okay, here's a nugget for you guys listening on the lawnmower. A lot of things going on. You can't pay off debt and grow at the same time. You factually can't. I've asked dozens and dozens of wealthy people making millions of dollars a year, what's your thought process on debt? And I asked Troy point blank, he said, you can't grow and pay off debt at the same time. You just can't. And so many people are like, well, I'm trying to make, now I'm not saying service your debt and make your monthly payments, but I'm saying don't try to get out of debt so quickly. Don't try to get out of debt so soon. We didn't care about that. We were like, the lawn business was bringing in $4 grand a month. Then it was bringing in $8 grand a month. Then it was bringing in $12 grand a month. Then it was bringing in $15 grand a month. And then we were bringing in $20 grand a month. We were living in our slummy apartment in 2019.
Yeah.
And we were making $20,000 gross revenue a month. We were making half that profit. YouTube was starting to offset a little bit of income. We had never touched any of the YouTube money. It was literally sitting in a checking account because I didn't want to rob Peter to pay Paul. I'm like, I don't know how long this thing's going to work or last or what this is. I don't even know. I said, I want to buy this Tesla one day. Can this just be like my side hustle thing? Right? So people are like, YouTube got you out of debt. No.
No, it really just bought the Tesla.
It really bought the Tesla. And that's okay because that was my side hustle. You build something on the side. You do whatever you want. You want to go buy toys, guns, ammo, whatever, do you?
It was so hard. Like, I remember we were talking about making the decision, and at the time we were watching our friends, have kids and buy their first homes and, leasing new cars. And here we were like, we can't even do that now, and we're going to go more into debt, into good debt, because we believe there's a difference between good debt and bad debt.
Good debt makes you money. Bad debt costs you money.
Yeah.
An opportunity.
And we're like, okay, I guess we're going to go for it. And we knew for the next 2 years that we weren't going to, on the outside,
have any lifestyle increases.
And we were having people laugh at us, family, look down at us because we literally lived in this crappy, crummy apartment. And
we had friends buying their first homes. Great friends. Real good friends.
We weren't.
We're
I guess
competition.
we were probably a little envious, but we were happy for them. But it was also hard.
They were having their first kid. Then they had their second kid. And Now you had quit your job at. Well, you actually got.
I got laid off around whenever Trump was elected because there was this whole thing in the medical industry of
fraud,
people
waste,
thought
and
that
abuse.
they were going to take away Social Security and insurance and stuff. So
yeah, some weird stuff.
my office got cut, and it was a lot of bad decision making on my boss's end too. He was the owner of the practice, and so he halved the office completely, which was insane. And then I got a call to come back, like at the end of
That was
winter,
wild.
in like
4
March.
months later.
Yeah, and he's like, "So you're going to come back, right?" And I was like, "No."
He's like, just kidding. I
Yeah.
actually need you because you're one of the good ones.
I was like, screw you. And we had talked about this decision, because we knew that there was a chance it could go back. We were in communication with the office. And
And the conversation was, hey, that's $30,000 a year.
yeah.
And we needed that back then.
We needed it, but we also
Chose not to.
chose not to. And we are very much make the decision and make it right. Whatever decision in life you want to make, you can go ahead and make it and just make sure you make it the right one.
And also understand that you get the ramifications of it not working out. And that's fair too. And I said,
It was
again,
terrifying.
it was come hell or high water. We're going to make our businesses work.
We took a stand. Yeah.
Yep. And at this, and and it is worth mentioning on the side, you started a side hustle with making farm signs. And it
I'm pretty sure we were at the end of the day, if we actually
Paying
ran like
to
a
do it.
P&L statement, I wasn't actually making any money.
no, but $50 here, $100 there, $500. We did a bunch of open house shows or whatever you call them, craft shows.
Yeah.
And there was times we made $500 to $1,000, and that did help. I mean, you weren't just sitting around idly like, hey, go get them. Like, it was nothing like that. So long story short, the whole like, I don't want to borrow money or borrowing money's wrong. Like the whole Dave Ramsey thing, like.
Dave Ramsey can help you get out of bad debt, but he's not going to teach you how to get wealthy.
He's not going to teach you how to. He's a great starting point. He's a horrible finish.
And he's probably good for a lot of people because that's all they ever want to do, and that's fine. I'm not saying that in like a mean
Not
way.
at all.
If that's all you want to do of life is to have a simple life, you want to, and then you probably should be debt free.
Yeah, and that's something I want to communicate. You guys are listening to the show. You're business owners. You got to understand who people are talking to. What's their credibility? What's their agenda? Who are they talking to? What is their product for? Right? This podcast is for lawn and landscape business owners and entrepreneurs. And even lawn and landscape is broad because we have people that have masonry businesses, the trades in general, but you're entrepreneurs and business owners. You can write your own paycheck here. And Dave Ramsey is for people with a job that bought 2 Suburbans and have $200,000 in student loan debt, and they're trying to pay for private education. They're just way over the front of their skis. Mm-hmm. And Dave Ramsey says, "Hey, maybe you should have a Toyota Highlander for $35,000
right,
instead of the $107,000 Escalade."
Like probably a good idea. Like these
Probably
people that
not
I
a
was
bad
looking
idea.
at their credit report at the mortgage company and their bank statements, like they really probably should have been on Dave Ramsey program.
100%. And by the way, anybody's like, "Well, you're so anti Dave Ramsey." Dude, we gave money at the church that we go to. I'm not going to name the name. For their Financial Peace University. We threw a huge check at that thing to, what do they call it, sponsor or whatever, people to go into the class.
We aren't anti-Dave Ramsey. We're anti-Dave Ramsey for people who are wanting to invest in their business because you can't do Dave Ramsey and invest in your small business.
You cannot be Dave Ramsey and Robert Kiyosaki. And Robert Kiyosaki is not about real estate. It's about leverage.
Test before you invest in the latest mowers, blowers, chainsaws, battery equipment, and UTVs. Join us at Equip Exposition in Louisville, Kentucky this October.
Hey guys, it's Brian, and I got to tell you what, I just got done talking to the folks at Equip Expo, and they cannot wait to see you guys down in Louisville, Kentucky later this fall, October 18th to the 21st for Equip Expo. The Equip team wants to let everyone know to achieve their next breakthrough with the right mix of help and hard work. Equip Expo, formerly the GI Plus Expo, will feature 7 educational tracks and 25 plus classes, such as topics in sales and profitability, technology hardscaping, and their newly added pool and spa track. Plus, yours truly will be hosting an event on Thursday afternoon called Energize with Mike Andes, Blake Albertson, and Paul Jameson. If you guys want to join us at Equip, consider using our discount code to register for the show, where you can save 50% off with promo code Brian.
Register before the early sign-up discount ends by visiting equipexposition.com.
Robert Kiyosaki is not about real estate. It's about leverage.
Right.
Okay. And I'm going to go into some things.
You can't run both programs simultaneously.
You cannot do both. And people are like, well, Dave Ramsey got me out of debt because I took my job income and my lawn care income, and then I followed Dave Ramsey's plan to get out of debt.
That's awesome if that was your goal.
Right. But here's the deal. Dave Ramsey didn't get you out of debt. Your $40,000 a year side hustle business that you leveraged the 0% lawnmower got you out of debt. And then you're going to give credit to Dave Ramsey? No. Dave Ramsey taught you how to run a budget. He didn't teach you how to create a business. And so people keep giving Dave Ramsey credit. And I don't like Dave Ramsey personally. He's the least guy I like. I just, because people are so confused.
I know.
And I have to deal with the ramification of people getting confused, because here's what you do. You want to be a good person. You want to be a good entrepreneur, and you're hungry for it. So what do? What do we naturally do? We listen to and consume everything we can get our hands on. You listen to this podcast, it tells you to get out of the debt. You listen to this one that says pay cash. You listen to this one that says leverage. And what do?
All of it.
All of it or none of it. And it's like you can't be a cross country runner and also a sprinter. You do both, and you end up nowhere. You chase two rabbits, you get none. And I fielded at this time now probably 50 coaching calls. Hey man, I'm not really sure what to do. Like, should I get out of debt, or should I buy a zero-term mower for 0% and grow this thing? I feel guilty having $7,000 in debt left over, but I want to grow. And that's my point. I'm so passionate about this because when you even if you're in a Ferrari and you're on the highway and there's dense fog, I don't care if that car can go 220 miles an hour. Mm-hmm. You are regulated. You are limited to going 25 miles per hour. And then you look and you go, well, how are other people winning and making it? Well, they're not confused. And you're stuck in your Ferrari on the highway with a bunch of fog, because after you're done listening to my show, you listen to the next guy's show. Then you listen to the next guy's show. Then you listen to the Ramsey Network show. And you're hungry for it. Like I talked about earlier, you're trying to grow the success mentality. Here's one thing that you and I did really well is we learned from everybody. We learned where they were at, who they were talking to, what they were saying, what they were not saying. And here's 3: distilled, deciphered, and discerned. Mm-hmm. You have to distill the information. You have to discern it, and you have to digest it to make it your own. And nobody's right, nobody's wrong. You have to figure out what makes sense for you.
You have to look at the fruit on the tree.
100%.
And if you look at where Dave Ramsey has gotten his money from, it's not couponing. It's not rice and beans for dinner every night.
Yeah,
it's on the fact that you're listening and buying his books.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is a whole, and he's helped, this is the thing. He's helped a lot of people, but I got to respect his hustle.
Let me ask you guys this. Not a trick question. How many people you know because of Dave Ramsey are worth $10 million? Not a trick question.
And
Hold on, listen.
I know.
How many people? Liz, you know? Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey is wealthy because of Dave Ramsey's teachings.
And I just want to keep saying, though, that we have friends that have followed Dave Ramsey, and it was the right thing for them, and their house is paid off, and they've got money in the bank for their kids' tuition, and they're happy there. And they're happy with where they have a job, and they make a certain amount of money every year, and they know what they're going to make next year, and it's a very good program for them.
Super stable.
If you're listening to this and that is you,
awesome.
Please don't be sad.
Not at all. But here's my point. Dave Ramsey is talking to middle-class people, period, case closed. Wealthy people, there's a difference between rich and wealthy, okay? There's a difference between being middle-class net worth rich and cash flow rich, okay? Period, case closed. If you want to have $1.5 million in the bank and earning you 4, 6, 8%, and it's going to take you 30 years to save that $1 million. By the way, how much money have you saved so far? Here's my quick question to those people. All these people calling in, how much money you got in savings? 20 grand, 30 grand, 80 grand, maybe 100 grand. They're 40. You're going to retire at 65. You're halfway through this process and you've saved 1/15 of where you need to be. By the way, today's money, you need 2.5 million minimum to retire to earn to take 4% out without eating your goose that lays a golden egg. You're 1/25 away through the process. You're 50% through the timeline. Now I trust me, like third quarter, fourth quarter, that's where you're going to prevail and that's where you're going to win. I'm your biggest fan, but you're 1/25 saved up to where you need to be. And by the way, $2.5 million. Do you think that's a lot of money? It is a lot of money.
Not anymore.
But not anymore. And so here's my point. If you want to follow Dave Ramsey and you want to get out of debt and say, and by the way, my biggest caveat and takeaway is always and number 7, build wealth. Here's
how.
There's no how. So here's the thing. What you and I did is I've read all of Dave's books. I know Dave's books more than you do. I guarantee you, I will cite chapter, title, verse, book, page, everything. I know because I devoured this stuff. I can tell you every chapter of Think and Grow Rich, every chapter of Master Key to Rich. I'm telling you, folks, there's the unfiltered Fullerton, then there's the unfiltered Fullerton. The podcast we put out meat every day. But you want to get behind the scenes. I am nuts about how to take care of my family and your family. And I'm not going to soft shoe and say, hey, just listen to Dave Ramsey. You're going to get rich. You will not get rich with Dave Ramsey. You will get confused. And at best, you'll pay off, 80 grand in student loan debt, credit card debt, and a car. That's fine. But again, once you pay that off,
then what?
Then what? All you have is your same lifestyle and income. And if 70 grand a year is where you want to be, dude, I'm so excited for you. For real. But there is more to life out there. There are people listening to the show that, you know what? I want to make 400 grand a year, $400,000 a month. Mm-hmm. And that's the people I'm trying to talk to. And you're not going to get there with Dave Ramsey. Now, to go full circle to the whiteboard, that was our attack plan because we threw it all on I had to visualize it. I'm a dude. So we wrote down 4 categories. We had the amount, we had the interest rate, we had the monthly payment, and then the terms left. And Dave Ramsey is always like, the snowball effect. You got to get out of debt for sure. He doesn't even teach you how to get out of debt. He says, pay off the thing with what is his take? The lowest amount of balance left. That's wrong. That's wrong advice. My opinion, of course, because again, there's 100 ways to skin a cat. You do not pay off the thing with the lowest balance first. You pay off the thing with the lowest amount of terms of monthly payments left first. So when we had this all broken out, we had Bank of America $4,000, Chase $7,000, Vibe Credit Union $7,000 with the truck, and they had monthly payments, right? Mm-hmm. 60 months, 50 months, 48 months, 12 months, 7 months, and 2 months. Why would I pay something that has the lowest balance of $1,100 when I have 3 months left on a payment for $203 a month for my truck? I'm not going to pay off the $1,100. I'm going to go pay off 3 more months because in 3 months I'm guaranteed that note is paid off. You pay the thing off first. I'm telling you guys what worked for us. And you can't say, I can't just be like, hey, here's my checking account. Here's my bank account. Here's how awesome we are. Like, that's so stupid. But what I will say is here's our checking account. Here's our bank account. Here's what we're doing. Like, we're not hurt. I don't know anybody around us that's growing financially as fast, but dude, we are insane behind the scenes to make sure that this stuff happens. And so this stuff works.
So after we paid off the truck, we took that, $200
and then we still
pretended to pay it, and we paid it towards the next
thing with the lowest months left.
So
then it was the next
progressively we're paying off more and more, if that makes sense.
And let me remember, we can't pay off debt and grow. Mm-hmm. Now here's the deal. We couldn't grow anymore with the lawn care business. We could add maybe an extra employee, but this thing was already cashing out at $200,000 a year. There wasn't anything, I didn't want to grow to multiple crews, multiple trucks, multiple things at the time. So the first thing you do with your money is you invest every single thing you can back into your business. Let's go on to another tirade, another rant. And by the way, if I make all enemies at the end of the show, I don't care because
I can hear them on the other side. You're making people mad.
I just don't care because I'm giving you the truth. The truth will set you free. If you don't, listen, you got to know the truth and apply the truth. But here's the deal. People talking about 401ks and Roth IRAs and getting 8% or 6% or 4% or 12% over here or whatever. Great advice for middle-class people. That is not what you need to be doing to grow wealth and grow your business. It's just not. Let me give you a quick for instance, and here, I'll give you guys, this is what I do because I make notes, I'm a nut job. You put $200 a month, go to a mortgage calculator or an investment calculator later tonight, put $200 a month, and I'm being generous at an 8% compounded annually for 30 years.
8%,
8% with a matching $2,400 annual contribution, right? So you're still feeding into this thing. After 30 years, you have $296,000. That's not bad. That's not bad. Now, or you take that $200 a month, you buy a zero turn on 0%, you build another route. Yes, you have overhead. I'm not naive to that. But that route's making $100,000 a year. You're making 25% on that. $25,000 a year over 30 years is $750,000. Why would you diversify in the beginning stages of your business? Why would you diversify the first 10, 15 years into that company? You can't grow and pay off debt. You have to grow. We'll talk about the debt thing here. Go full circle in a second. We're talking about investing. Why would you splinter where your cash is going to reinvest? Why would you not dump it back into your business? And people say, well, you have to have diversity. No, you don't. Diversity is what you do to maintain. You need the focus to grow. That is a huge misnomer in success principle in life. People are like, you got to diversify. Have 17 different things bringing in cash flow. Have 17 businesses.
Yes, but also no.
For sure. I don't disagree. You want to have multiple hoses filling up the pool, but you don't do that until
when is what you're saying is important.
Yes, you don't shave off any income out of your business to grow something else on the side. That's That's insane. To what? To get 8%? To go get, you're not going to get 8%. You're going to get 4 to 6%. And dude, it's just so ridiculous. Put that money back into your business. You need to put it back into your business to grow. Now, to go back, so that was the investing thing. We good there for a quick second? And if you want to invest on the side, and you're like, if you read the Robert Kiyosaki books, he says the 4 things that like rob money from you when you're trying to grow a business are like your investments into your retirement, your health care. I think one is like literally, he says kids, having a family, and another one's like maybe like lifestyle or something like that. But the point is like everything goes back into the business, right? Buy the stand-on aerator, buy the mower, buy as many things as you can until you're comfortable with where the business is at. And you're like, look, there's so much cash being offset, shooting off that business. Then take that cash and then reinvest into things. And by the way, another one, people are like, grow the business to sell the business. Well, you're going to sell the business for $1 million and then go what? Put it in the bank or go put it into investments to get 5% to make $50,000 a year off of that $1 million business. I bet you if you ran your business to doing $1 million a year and you ran a 15% margin, that's $150,000 a year. Why would you build it to sell it? Now, if you want to sell it to get out of it, sure, that's a great thing to do. But the answer is it's always the number one wealth generator, period, case close, is always going to be businesses, period. There's 4 categories, businesses, commodities, stocks and paper, and there's going to be real estate. Number one, for tax advantages and then also wealth creation will always be businesses. You know why? It's the one with the highest upswing. It's the hardest one to do, of course. Real estate is number 2. And then, you can argue with stocks and bonds and commodities and all that for 3 and 4. But number 1, it's entrepreneurship and being a business owner. Okay. Now, I'm going to go back to our budget because that whiteboard, we were servicing off the monthly debts, but we didn't start rolling up those extra payments until we like I said, we didn't have any idea what to do with our money, with our business. Like we were tapped out.
There was nowhere else that we could see investing into the business that would be profitable.
We bought
it was also we wanted to take the business.
We bought the debris loader. We bought the enclosed trailer. We bought the mower with the vacuum. We bought the truck. We bought the plow. We had the best of everything. Pick your brand, pick your whatever, folks. You know, if you're a Chevy guy or a Western, like it's all minutia, right? But we had the best, and I'm not saying, I say like as humbly as possible. Like I had a really good route. Like that little business was making $250,000 a year in gross revenue. We really couldn't do too much more to grow it. I could have bought a skid steer. I didn't know how to drive a skid steer. I don't have a guy to man a skid steer. I don't have the accounts for a skid steer, right? And by the way, we're still doing this. So people are like, well, when do I start paying off debt? When you have so much more cash flow coming in than you even know what to do with it. It's not like you incrementally grow and then you're like, hey, I'm going to start paying down my Toro zero-turn mower payment. I owe $9,000 on it. Stop paying off your debt until you have 3, 4, 5 X of it's in the bank, right? All right. Do you have anything to, I'm so.
You're doing great, honey.
I'm so sick and tired of.
So fired up.
Let me go to this one really quick too. Some people about the borrowing money versus not borrowing money. Okay. Here's the deal. Like some people are we grow at the speed of cash and we run $1 million business and we're debt free. Now, when somebody says that, and again, everybody's got their own approach in life. Okay, just talking out loud, guys. When somebody says we have $1 million business and we're debt free, okay, listen. If you had that $1 million business and you leveraged $200,000-$300,000 of that instead, finance your mowers, finance your trucks, finance your whatever, and you had that $300,000-$500,000 earning you 8%, 10% somewhere else, you would be making $40,000 a year on the money that you could have borrowed at 0% and reinvest the cash that you had to make 8 or 10% elsewhere. And so some people are like, well, debt free or die. And then other people are like, finance and leverage or die. The reality is that you're always going to have to grow the company. That's the number one conversation I want to have here first. You have to grow the business. You have to get the revenue numbers. You have to grow this thing first. Everybody's like debt free or finance. The reality is grow, right? Because I wrote down here, there's a note that I got from somebody I follow that said, you finance everything you buy. You either borrow it from an institution or from your future if you pay cash. Yes, you will pay interest to someone else if you use an institution, but you lose interest when you pay cash. The trick is to always calculate which option is best, right? So here's the deal. If you can get 0%, for the love of God, why would you not use 0% money? For real. And I'm not saying you have to do that. You're like, I'm a cash only guy. I just pay cash only guy. Why? Again, imagine the person that's got $1 million business that could have taken that 300 grand of all their equipment costs, financed it at 0 to 4%, taken that 400 grand out, got 10%, made $40,000 a year. To service the debt, it's $24,000 a year. They would have made $16,000 on their money, if not way more. Why would you? So
I know why. Because the feeling of having that debt over your head, like, you know, how we grew up, is terrifying sometimes.
Well,
and being a business owner versus being a regular civilian, you have to change your mindset about good debt.
Yeah.
You have to recategorize it in your brain that there are such things as good debt versus bad debt. Good debt, business investments. Bad debt, a Louis Vuitton bag on a credit card.
Sure.
Like, there is a difference, you guys, and it is the biggest mental block that you have to be able to take your business to the next level sometimes. Not for everybody, you know, I understand not everybody, you know, came from where we did, but for me personally, taking on debt was absolutely terrifying.
And let me answer.
So I do understand.
And here, let's go to that.
But that's not an excuse not to.
No, because if you've only been taught one way your whole life and the other side wasn't presented to you,
it's so hard to change your thought process on it.
The reason your income grows so much between 12 years old and 30 years old is because you're learning new things. What happens at 30?
You stop.
People stop. You stop learning new things, and you're set in your waves and your grooves. You have a wife, you have kids, you have life, you have societal pressures, you have obligations. You don't care how money works at 35. Whatever values you have, you're going to be set with them probably by 30 years old forever. You do not have a set of stone values about money and wealth and finances at 15, 18, 20, 22 years old. That's why your income grows so fast, because you start realizing I can get different jobs. I can start a side hustle. I can start borrowing money. I can start, you know what I'm saying? How many people are taking risks at 30, 35, and 40 years old?
Right.
You're not. And then you use it as the guise of, I have a family, I have a boat, I have a camper. And look, dude, I get it. But here's the reality. Let's go back to what Tom Wheelwright said just a couple weeks ago, talking about having debt and overhead, like you were just saying, babe. Tom Wheelwright said, the reason you don't want to borrow, and I want you guys to listen to this. The reason you don't want to borrow is because you don't trust the asset.
I remember you saying this, and I was like, whoa.
I literally was like, Liz, holy shit, it all makes sense now. I couldn't articulate it, but the way he said it summed up was, the reason you don't borrow is because you don't trust the asset. The reason people don't borrow on 0%, 4%, 8%, the interest rate is almost negligible. It does matter, fight for every point, but the point is, if you don't want to go buy a $10,000, $12,000 mower or a $70,000 skid steer and finance that thing, it's because you don't trust the asset or you and your ability to make it perform and make money. Can we just be honest? And that's the conversation is, hey, should I borrow or should I pay cash? My question is, how well do you believe in your ability to make that cash flow, that asset cash flow? And this goes back to another point that Robert Kiyosaki made in all of his books. He said the number one question he gets is he does a seminar and somebody walks up to him and says, hey, I've got 10 grand. What should I do with it? And he goes, I don't know, because I don't know you. I don't know what you're capable of doing. I don't know your thought process. I don't know your risk tolerance level. I don't know how you should manage your money, because you have to manage your money. So that's why this whole conversation is in some ways elusive, because there isn't a concrete, you should do this, I should do that. I should do this, you should do that. It's you have to decide, and I say this on every podcast, you and your wife have to get a game plan. What are we comfortable with? What are we trying to do? Where are we trying to go? Are we trying to grow these things by leaps and bounds? Are we trying to slingshot decades ahead by borrowing and leveraging and borrowing from our future selves? Are we competent? Are we willing to pay dues? Are we willing to sacrifice lifestyles to service debt, to grow a company, to grow the cash flow, to then offset that cash flow with either A, buying lifestyle, or B, paying off debt, or paying off debt, then buying lifestyle, which is what we did. We went 100 grand in debt. 3 years later, the company grew 4x. We took all that money that was coming in because we didn't know what else to do with it. I was not a big guy with stocks, bonds, and real estate. I'm a big real estate guy. I'll get into that in a minute. But we weren't going to invest into petty things up front. I was like, let's get completely out of debt. Let's have all this cash flow coming in. And then we can start evaluating what to do with this cash flow coming in to reinvest into real estate.
when we got our new CPA, we had him for maybe a year or two into this process. So he saw our business go from like literally, I think he was like, why are you paying me?
we
because
upgraded
you're not
firms
at the level that I normally take. But he saw where we were going. And then literally in the next 2 years, we made good on our promise when he took us on as a client to like quadruple our business. And he's like, I have never seen one of my clients do this at this velocity. Like I vividly remember this conversation with him. He's like, what are you doing?
Yeah. One of our businesses is up this year 30%. The other one's up 48%.
Which is crazy after 5 years of it always being up. And we don't expect it always to do that. But
we're hungry for it. We're and then people are like, oh, you're making YouTube videos and like you have a new baby. And there's so many people out there that are hoping that we fall off.
We had so many people. This makes me, I'm going to get fired up.
It's wild.
People are like, oh, you're having a baby. I can't wait to see you not keep up at the same speed you guys have been at. You're going to see how it really is with the rest of us. Screw you.
Dude, for real.
You know why we do what we do and we still do what we do is because we have a baby, not
reasons or excuses.
Yeah, it's in spite of, or what is it?
Well, it's your excuse to not perform or your reason to continue to perform.
Yeah, like if you want to use your kid as an excuse to be a failure in life, I'm sorry for your child. Just because like that was the biggest thing I got when I was pregnant. Oh, now you're going to really see how it is for everybody.
Yeah. And we don't apologize for working hard. We have both of our grandmas are on the payroll. They consume a ton of cash from our businesses. Here's a tip. Thank Jesus that we dug our well before we needed it. And here's the unpopular opinion. Here's the unpopular topic. Talking about money and success and finances and people saying, well, dude, money's not everything. No, you're right. It's not. But it's pretty damn near close. Because everything that we need to get to be able to provide clothes and food and medicine and whatever are going to come from money. And people are like, well, you work so hard because you want nice things. No, because I know that I'm gonna have to take care of a bunch of people around me because they're not serious about their finances, right? I mean, that's the reality. And you buy the Lamborghini, folks, after you've taken care of your family. You buy the nice house after you've tithed and you've given gobs of money to your church if you want to participate that way, right? So like, and we've just been stockpiling. Growing our companies. We've been growing. I could have more lifestyle possessions. We could have bought a home 4 years ago, a decent home 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. We don't. We can take what my media company, YouTube. What could it possibly have for overhead? What was it 2020? We just finished up 21, right? In 2020, I invested over $200,000 into our media company. People are like, well, what are you investing in? I'm like, just everything I can, everything I can to expose it, to grow it, from race cars for kids that have landscaping companies to media, to light trusses, we're reinvesting every single. I haven't even extracted out of our media company yet, which has now grown into a sizable little friggin' empire. But that's my point. We haven't even turned on the wealth, the lifestyle thing. We're not made of money. We're not millionaires. Nothing like that. Okay, folks. But my point is, we haven't we're still paying dues. We're still people are like, well, you rent out a helicopter for $1,000 to go on a fall color tour and take the almonds. Folks, like that's not even a day's income. You know what I mean? Like we're still living so far below our means because we still believe in. I love that part of Dave Ramsey. Live within your means. Have a budget. I have nothing against that. We adopt that. Everybody says have a budget. Mm-hmm. So people are like, you're not a Dave Ramsey guy? That's not even the conversation. That's a great conversation point that
you're
Dave
talking
Ramsey
about it's depending on where you want to go. If you want to go deep sea fishing, you need a boat, and Dave Ramsey would be like a really cool race car. That race car is going to get you into the middle of the ocean very well. It's not saying he's not a bad car. He's a great race car, but he's not the vehicle you need. It's all about being in the correct vehicle for where you're trying to go. Yeah,
100%. Look, here's probably final thing I'll wrap up with is I want to see you guys grow. To grow, you need to. Here's a quick tip. You need to grow. To grow, you need to grow. And I don't care how you grow. As long as it's legal, moral, and ethical, I will get behind you. I don't care if you borrow money at 0%, 4%, 8%, 12%, 15%. Obviously, I don't want you to have a 29.6% loan on your lawnmower. Have some predatory shark lore. Okay, there are things you need to learn about money and finances and rates. And I was in we financed it. So we've used good debt. We've used, we've paid cash for things. We've financed things. We've talked with our CPA. Hey, what do we do with writing this off or writing this off?
How can we depreciate that?
How do we depreciate? What's our schedule? What makes more sense? We spend quarterly calls to line these things up. Nothing is there is no guesswork, right? Because just like Jeff Joyner said, we're committed to the family purpose and the family mission, and we have goals that we're trying to accomplish. And I don't have to talk to you every single day about every dollar spent or invested. It's not even a conversation. And it's not because there's millions of dollars laying around. I'm like, hey, she won't miss this bag of gold laying around. That's not the conversation. It's we are and still and will forever be 100% carte blanche. Anything the business needs to grow, we will invest in it. Agreed? Mm-hmm. We have never taken our foot off the plow or hand off the plow, whatever you call it, to grow. And so here's the conversation. I have nothing against Dave Ramsey. I have nothing against Robert Kiyosaki. I'm not pro Dave Ramsey. I'm pro you figuring out your life philosophy about how to approach creating wealth. Mm-hmm. For us, we do it with creating a lawn and landscaping business. Any extra money that I offshot from that business, I reinvest into the media company. Every single thing from the media company, we reinvest into to get that thing growing, try to get that big and burly. Over time, we will take the cash flow from business one and business two, and we will evaluate, do we need to reinvest in anything? Is there any other opportunity before we take it to go leverage into real estate? People are like, well, I got my first rental, and it's like I put 30 grand there, and I'm making $300 net delta, off the rental per month. That's fine. That's cool. What if you took that same 30 grand and bought 2 new zero turns and had 2 new crews or 1 new crew with 2 mowers on it? You would have made $100,000 a year off of it. What do you chase the $300 a month for? Now, and again, if you're looking for pigs and pals and you want some depreciation and some passive income losses, I get that. That's a whole other part of your wealth strategy. You got to talk to your CPA, but have the conversations. This is what you and I did I don't want to be a dead horse, but every single day, it's what are we trying to do here? And it's not for like 8 hours a day. Okay, we're not like it's money or die. Because after this, we're gonna go to the state fair today, and we're gonna enjoy and have family time and just go live the dream. But here's the deal: like you have to have these conversations. You have to start realizing I got to grow the company. I got to start getting more top line revenue come in. I need to not be so concerned with paying off debt, but reinvesting as much as I can. Buy the aerator, buy the leaf vac, buy the stand-on leaf blowers, buy the stand-on mower, add a crew, add a second guy, add employees are reinvesting into the company. Payroll is one of the most expensive ways to reinvest into your company, but it is a way to grow the company. People are like, my company's got $50,000 a year laying around in profit. What do I do with it? Take it and go blow it on lifestyle? That's an option. Number 2, you reinvest into somebody $50,000 a year to run whatever aspect of your business, and that job now brings in $200 grand more of gross revenue, right? That's what you and I are doing. We're reinvesting into employees and different virtual assistants and stuff like that. So again, I just want to have this conversation is, one thing that I've noticed, and this is my last thing, right, is when you're hungry for it, you will consume everything. You will, for the hungry ones out there, the people that are nut jobs like myself, and I don't care if you came from broke and you want to be, well off. I don't care if you came from well off and you want to be still well off, or well off and you want to be rich, or you're poor and then you want to be rich. The whole gamut. You have to know who to listen to, and you have to follow who is that person. What's their message? What's their credibility? What's their agenda? Dave Ramsey is creating an army of people in the middle class that are getting out of debt. Fantastic. We need more of that. Like, I think that is a really noble cause. And because he's helping the masses, right, he is creating a lot of wealth for himself.
Mm-hmm. And there's nothing wrong with that either.
I am so excited. But Dave Ramsey did not get wealthy, okay? Being debt-free. And even if he is debt-free, which, he is arguably, he didn't get wealthy by teaching you guys or he didn't get wealthy by having a $90,000 a year job and saving 30 grand a year and reinvesting it into his 401k. Can we agree? Can we all just be honest? The Ramsey Network and the Ramsey Institute and those folks have books and conferences and seminars and podcasts, and they're running ads. And if you, and it's like this, you got to be realistic. People are like, well, Fullerton, aren't you doing the same thing? Yes and no. I still run my traditional lawn and landscape business that makes $250,000 a year. Like, I'm still in the thick of it every single day. Of course, I have my side hustle that's growing too. But the point is, Dave's not like, out of the $50 million that Dave's worth or whatever, I would bet you that 49.8 million of it came from his business, and 200 grand of it came from, or whatever, came from his
investment,
his job. His job income. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, where did he make his money? I make my money from both businesses. We still make 6 figures from our lawn landscaping business. It's not like we're just podcasters or YouTubers or any of that nonsense. Like our numbers are up, and I put them against anybody else listening to the show while I'm still having a baby, while we're still, or a toddler, while we're still having, working my media company 20, 30 hours of business a week, while I'm still trying to be a good son to my mom and a husband to my wife. You know what I mean? Like, dude, we're working our guts out because we're realizing this works. We're realizing you can change your stars. In a couple months' time, now we're a year behind because things got wonky with the economy and the price of materials, but in a couple months' time, we'll break ground on a really beautiful home for us. Maybe not for you, for us. But we came from, I got to go full circle. We came from a beyond broke backgrounds. We have a 700 square foot apartment that we have for 7 or 8 years. And in less than a decade, we've been able to create hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in cash flow. And we've been able to have a happy marriage, have a baby, be participants in our community. We go to community events all the time. I'm in a golf outing thing here in a couple weeks.
We're not saying that
you can do both.
Things haven't been difficult. Like people are like, oh, you're going to see how hard it is when you have a baby. Yeah,
of course.
It is hard.
We didn't sleep
Doesn't
for
mean
months.
You quit though.
No, we had commitments. We were committed. It was, we have a goal. We have an end mark that we're trying to get to in life. It's not hundreds of millions of dollars, by the way. It's significantly less than that. But the point is, we're still able, it doesn't matter what life circumstances happen along the way. Just because you have a kid or somebody gets sick, it doesn't change the goal. You don't not do it because of them. You do it because of them. Because of them. So my biggest thing that I wanted to say was just figure out who to listen to. And when you're hungry for it, you listen to everybody, and that's where you can get massively confused. Get out of debt. Get into debt. We're $1 million debt free. Well, if I said I was $1 million debt free to Robert Kiyosaki, he'd go, "You're an idiot. You're an idiot." If you say you run $1 million debt free business to Dave Ramsey, he'd say, "Awesome, brother. Let's get you on the show, and you'll be my Friday success story." Right? But what's the difference? One's a middle class guy. One's a wealthy guy. And Dave's wealthy. Don't get me wrong, but Dave's wealthy because of Dave's wealth network. He's not wealthy because he had a job. He's a business owner, and you guys are business owners, and you got to realize that this business owner is talking to job people. I'm a business owner talking to business owner people. I mean, there's a lot of employees that listen to the show too, and God bless. I mean, that's why they're all starting side hustles and starting lawn care businesses. But if you told me you were $1 million business and you were debt free, Robert Kiyosaki would say, "Why don't you go leverage, pull the equity out or." Whatever, folks, you know what I'm saying. If you got $1 million, he'd say, why don't you go borrow 3 times as much and go buy a $4 million apartment complex, have 20 grand a month in cash flow, net $7,000 off it or whatever, and have a 12% cash on cash return. It's just a different mentality. And you have to know who, that's my biggest thing. You have to know who you're listening to. For us, we are business owners, we are entrepreneurs, soon to be investors, right? That's our mentality. That's who Liz and I are as people if you listen to our show. Period, case closed, right? I just want to get this all off my chest because I've done, dude, literally dozens and dozens of podcasts
you've been talking about this
coaching
episode
calls
for a while. This hasn't been an episode where you just woke up today and you were like, you know what we're gonna do?
No, and I wanted you to get in here so we can kind of soften it up. But like we went from nothing to, and we're not something. We have a little bit more. I mean, just as humbly as we can say.
I have to preface everything we're saying too. It scares me that there's somebody listening to this that has no business being in business or like is going to go and tell their wife that, hey, we're going to go take out $100,000 in debt and they're going to do absolutely nothing with it. Like you have to know yourself. And if you are married, you have got to be on the same page.
That's a great point.
If you are married, you don't get to make these decisions by yourself anymore.
Not at all. And that's a great point. And I called it, I think it was episode 18 or 19. It was Don't Dull the Scalpel. People are like, what's your favorite podcast? I have lots of favorite episodes because I've thrown it out there and just laid it all on the line. And I hope my kids, one day listen to all these things.
I remember this episode specifically because you brought your brother's Zelda sword to our house and it sat in the corner because this was originally going to be a YouTube video and you were going to somehow use the Zelda.
I had a bunch of props and I was going to, he's got this crazy sword. It's a whole
story.
It was I had all these analogies. Then I got busy, go figure. Mm-hmm. That's how it always works. I got these great ideas and then you get the third of it because we're always time crunch, just like you guys. But episode 19, it was Don't Dull the Scalpel. And I talked about debt. That is like a scalpel, and you don't make scalpels safe by dulling them. Mm-hmm. Scalpels are safe by putting them in the hand of somebody who's trained professional that knows how to use it.
There's such a good analogy.
Period. You don't make guns aren't bad or evil or safe or unsafe. They're completely unsafe when they're in the hands of an untrained person. We have dozens and dozens of guns.
No, we don't.
No, we don't.
Lost them
We lost them in
all.
that boating accident.
Yes.
No, skiing when we were
accident.
at Park Valley.
Avalanche.
Park City, whatever. We've had no incidents here. Knock on wood, praise the Lord. But we're a trained semi-professional. We got training. We went to multiple classes.
We still have a training. Yes.
We're continuously training. Literally, we train. Not just go shoot them. We take training classes, how to break them down, how to put them together. So that's my point. You don't, like listen what you just said. You don't just go out and go get $100,000 in debt. I started with a weed whip on a line of credit, used it for a couple months, the line of credit, then paid it off. Then I bought a walk behind for $5,000. Used it, grew it, revenue grew, paid off the debt. Oh, interesting. I'm getting like my stride. $10,000 mower. Use it, grow, pay off the debt shortly, a year after out of the 3 or 4 year note. Then we get another mower. Then we get a truck. Then we get another truck. Then we get a trailer. Then we get a bigger trailer, right? Mm-hmm. And then there's skid steers. And then there's some people are buying 50 skid steers. And then you buy a freaking crane for $2 million, or you're buying this pool machine or this mulch blowing machine that's $500,000, or a mulch mate for $35,000. Like you don't just start there. And that's why it's a muscle. You have to build layers to this thing. You don't go to the gym and just start benching 405. You got to start with 75 pounds on the barbell, then 95, then 155, and then whatever. You guys get it? So go back, listen to episode, I think it was 19, Don't Dull the Scalpel, maybe 18 or 19.
Gosh, what episode is this? Do you know?
This is episode 400. 400? Yeah, this is our
Happy 400 episodes.
Yeah, hey, we'll just...
Talking about episode 19. Wow.
We'll just implode the podcast here then.
That's fine. I know. I could feel people like dropping off and you're like, I hate damn surf. Like, gun
That's
owners
fine.
aren't bad. Like, we're just like...
I'm just here to offend everybody. If that's the case, and how can the truth be
You've
offensive?
been personally victimized by this.
I guess. It's like it's like gluttony. You just put yourself in this position to get beat up for an hour and a half. I won't not ever stop talking the truth. Mm-hmm. Right? And I'm not only talk about this kind of stuff, but money, politics, sex, religion. These are very important topics. Education. These are the topics I want to talk about because they actually matter. Because for 30 years, nobody was talking to me about any of this stuff that mattered. And my life was small. There was no impact. There was nobody's lives being changed. Mm-hmm. We didn't give money away until just, I always tithe from when I got saved forward, but it was difficult to do. But we weren't giving away what we are now. Mm-hmm. Our pastors love us. If we got lost on an island, there's like a joke.
Looking for us.
They would get people you're lost on an island. You get one phone call. Who do you call? Your mom, your dad, your aunt, your uncle? Hell no. You call your pastor. Why is that? Because he doesn't want to miss my tithe. He doesn't want to miss my tithe check. And so the Tesla I bought, the trucks we bought. That's after we tithe. That's after we give. Praise the Lord. And I have life goals. I have a goal of giving away $1 million. I want to be a millionaire. I want to give away $1 million. And I want to win 1 million people to Jesus.
The definition of Brian's millionaire isn't somebody who has $1 million in the bank. It's somebody who gives $1 million away.
Well, I want $1 million in cash flow and I want to be able to give away $1 million in my lifetime and win 1 million souls to Jesus. It's the three.
There's the trifecta.
That's my 3M. So you guys pick your goals. Those are. By the way, I hope in 20 years I look back and go, you were such a peon with your thinking.
Can I just while we're talking about goals, and I know we have to wrap up. If you get anything out of this, go have a conversation. I would probably guess to say that there's at least half of the listeners have to be married, right?
Probably.
And if this is resonating with you, go have a conversation, get yourself a whiteboard and get yourself a dream board. We call it a vision board. They're two different things.
We had a whiteboard vision board.
Yep.
And we had a financial roadmap.
Yep. Get on your same page. Or get on the same page. Write it all out. Put it in front of you. Make it happen. Don't just let this episode feel really good and fire you up for the minute. Use it to go and change yourself. Yeah. Change your stars. Change your family. And, we run together in the trades. This is just top of mind, but you can't get anywhere if both of the horses are going in opposite directions of where you're trying to take the carriage. And for so long in the beginning, well, it wasn't really long in the grand scheme of things, I guess, but in the beginning of a relationship, that's why we struggled so much. Mm-hmm. We didn't know what we were trying to accomplish. Then we kind of knew what we were trying to accomplish, but we had different ways of doing it.
There's probably just a bunch of sexual frustration too. Because I had the V card, I was like, "Hey, come here."
Get away from me. Anyways,
a lot of passion here behind the scenes.
Every time I get on the episode in the podcast, you have to go like just completely off in the random directions. Yes.
Because I just stare at you and I'm like, "Hey, how you doing?" Like Joey from Friends, "How you doing? How you doing?"
Before my time.
I like what you said though. You have to have those conversations, okay?
Yeah.
We had a vision board and we had a financial roadmap board, and we looked at that financial roadmap. Folks, I'm telling you, I read books to learn how to get out of debt. You're like, well, just pay off stuff. There's a science to it. It's not just there's a science to how you got into it. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a formula for how you can get out of it. I don't care what hole it is. Dave Ramsey's a great start. It's a horrible finish. I'm just telling you straight up. Like, number 7, build wealth. I'm going to write my book, and like the 7th chapter is going to be, now go get rich. It's like, oh, okay. Now go run your business. Oh, okay.
Got it. All the information I need.
Thanks for just totally buttoning up there. Buy a trimmer, buy a blower, go get some postcards. Now, step 7, go run your business.
Okay.
Oh man, thanks for really just bridging the gap there and connecting the dots.
Laying it all out there for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's
wild.
It's just literally absurd. It's absurd. It's just, and then it's absurd how this is touted. He's a genius. He's a genius marketer. He's a genius businessman. I give him tons of credit. Mm-hmm. We listen and we learn a ton from Dave Ramsey. We really do. I listen to Dave Ramsey's podcast.
Like, we joke about like rice and beans because basically, well, for us, it wasn't rice and beans. It was really crappy spaghetti. But same concept, right?
Yep.
Like we get it. Like we get the concepts.
The envelope system.
The envelope system.
Yeah.
We have used certain principles in our life. So it's not saying that like he's evil, bad, whatever.
No.
He's just not the vehicle you should be in if you're in a business owner in our opinion.
And people are like, Grant Cardone this, Grant Cardone that. Like he's an evil, look, Scientology or whatever, all these different aspects of this guy. God bless. Like, whatever. But he's making millions and giving away millions and taking care of his family. And then somebody's going to argue who has got, and I say this all the time, and I say this with love, but then there's somebody who's with a Toyota Corolla that makes $40,000 a year that can't pay their bills and they can't pay attention is going to judge a Grant Cardone.
Can't pay their bills, or let alone anybody else's.
I'm like, Grant Cardone's jet uses what you make in a year's fuel just to go from, Florida, Miami to LA. And it doesn't mean he's better, but it does mean he has more money. And with that money, you can make an impact and help people. And that's the point of the show. That's the point of the podcast. That's my mission. Help the Brian's Law Mayans of 10 or 15 years ago go from being broke as a joke to being able to at least make $100,000 a year, fix his family's finances, and then what you want to do from it, you can grow from there. If you want to make $1 million a year, the foundational stuff that you listen to on my show you can still build on it. I'm excavating. We'll get you the basement. We're getting you to the foundation. And if that's only $100,000 a year of income or $200,000 a year of income, I can help you get there. I can help you make a lot more than that too, I believe, because we are. But that being said, if you want to make a $3 million business, no problem. I'll get guests on the show that have done that, because I'm not going to be preaching stuff that I've not done in the lawn care business. Cumulatively, that's another conversation. But in the lawn care business, I will always keep credibility and get people on the show that are further down the road than what we've done. But that being said, I want you guys to win. I want you to grow. Noise destroys. And there's a lot of stuff out there, right? And you got to know who to listen to. And I'm not saying like me or my podcast specifically. I'm just saying, listen to everything, figure out who's your guy, stop listening to things that distract you, deter you, that don't have any credence in your life and your mission. All right, that's my last. I'm out. Anything else you got?
Nope. I mean, yes, but the show's already long. So.
This has got to be the longest show we've done. I just go back and listen to it a couple of times, guys. There's a lot of nuggets in there. So, all right, that's it. Over now. I love you guys. Thanks for 400 listens, 400 episodes, I should say. Maybe 400 listens too. I think it's like 1.5, 1.6 million downloads. I don't even know. I don't even care. It's making an impact on people's lives all the time. I don't care if I get 5,000 downloads a show. I don't care if I get 100,000 downloads a month. I don't care. If I can help one guy figure out their life, figure out their story, figure out their mission, and you can come back to me in 2 to 5 years and say, dude, you changed my life, changed my business. Here's my life, my wife, my kids, my car.
You know what
That's what matters.
I have seen people tagging us in stories of taking stuff off the dream board because they've accomplished it.
It's true.
Like tag us, please show me. Send it to me. You don't have to tag me. I don't even care. But I love that so much.
We get all the time. People are like, man, I just paid cash for this. My first truck, my dump trailer, my this, my that. I'm taking my kids to a vacation. Somebody was just taking their kids to Disney. They're like, dude, it's a 7-day vacation, paid for cash. Thanks to the business, thanks to you, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, it has nothing to do with me. 100% everything to do for you and with you. Like you did it. You did it. You won.
But we definitely want to celebrate with you.
100%. That, I mean, like, and I don't want the like debt-free yell that Dave Ramsey does. That's awesome. That's cool. I want the accomplish your dreams yell. Okay. Like take stuff off your whiteboard vision board. Take stuff off your vision board is like our mission.
And if you're just getting started and you want to put it up, send me a photo too. I love that. Like
tag us.
Yeah.
And we can create a whole new movement of people that are putting things on the dream board and taking things off the dream board. Because at the end of the day, like that's what we want to do. We want to help people, want to grow. And that's actually pretty dope. Mm-hmm. So that gets me fired up more than anything else. All right. Over now, 400 episodes. This is our special. There you go. I just yell at you for an hour and 40 minutes though. That's how we do it on our show. And we pour it out there, folks. Like we really do care about you more than you guys will ever know. So many great people have come before us to help us get our life together. I had to distill and discern and digest and decipher a bunch of info. And I am not going to take complicated or simple things and make them complicated and then charge you money for that.
Yeah.
That's what the world does. I'm going to take complex things, make them extremely simple, give it away for you for free. And if you want to reciprocate down the road and along the way, God bless you. Use a code, come to an event, do whatever you want to do. So that's what I got. You good, babe? Mm-hmm. All right. I love you.
I love you.
All right. We'll see you guys.
Book your one-on-one coaching call with Brian Fullerton today. You'll be glad you did.
Hey, it's Matt from Connecticut. I had a couple questions regarding marketing and route density, and Brian gave a straightforward answer, and now I wish I did it sooner. The information you receive in the hour call is priceless. I definitely recommend a coaching call if you want instant answers and ideas to improve your business.
What questions and issues in your business could you use Brian's help with? Visit Lawntrepreneur Academy today to schedule your call.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast with Brian Fullerton. We hope you enjoyed this production. If so, please consider leaving us a 5-star review for the show. While the techniques and ideas presented here are designed to help you grow a more successful and profitable business, no one can guarantee these results for you. We want to emphasize that entrepreneurship is not easy, and the ideas presented here are just the opinions of Brian Fullerton and his respective guests. No one can guarantee success for you. That being said, we hope the ideas presented here help you and motivate you to go on out there and crush it with your own business.
Fullerton Unfiltered Podcast.
Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode.
This has been a Brian Fullerton and Mr. Producer production.